Okay, so what is more out front, keys or acoustic? And how do you keep the sound full with both of those? So I think we should talk about the hierarchy of the mix. Is everybody in the room, is there anyone in the room that's not doing contemporary worship like this? Okay, so just a couple of us. So the way I consider the mix is I start with the vocals. And start meaning I want the vocal loudest in the mix, but I also turn that up on the console first. So how many of you start with kick drum? Yeah, most people. So you start with drums and then you push up other things, and then finally, after the whole band mix is made, you try to get the vocal in there somewhere, except that you've left no room for the vocal. So to me, in a sort of contemporary worship setting, it needs to be vocal, then probably kick, snare, and bass, then mid-range instruments like guitars and keys, whatever else is in your mix, and then sort of lower, just below that, is the part where they're bashing metal with wood. Try to keep that a little below that. Sinking in. If you, as you're building a mix for sound operators, start with the vocals. So we're used to the way the human voice sounds. We're wired to hear it, right? Created to hear human voice. And so when you come in cold, fresh, your ears are adjusted to normal sound. That's the best time to make tonal EQ adjustments to the vocal mic, right? So if you've listened to guitar raging away, then your threshold or your perspective has shifted, and what's natural to you now is different than what is really natural. And as the congregation comes in, they're expecting, or when they walk in, it will not sound natural because you've EQ'd it based on some skewed perspective. So start with the vocal, EQ it. Yeah, sorry, I'm so distracted. There's this crazy slap back here. Sorry about this. I want to fix it, and I can't fix it from right here. It's unfixable. Start with the vocals, put it in place, and then build the mix around it. Bring in drums and guitars. Here's two things will happen. One, the vocal will stay on top of the mix. And two, your mix won't be as loud. Drums only sound better louder through a PA if they're tuned well and EQ'd well and all that kind of stuff. So we tend to make the mix too loud. At our church, we're in a very large space, so we can kind of get away with a little more volume. We mix about 90 to 95 dB A-weighted, which is very comfortable in that room. In this room, that would be, depending on, again, the quality of the mix, on the louder side. So the volume of your space makes a difference. But 90 is certainly comfortable if it's a clean mix. All right, next question. Lead vocal, and then background vocals below that. And for me, that's always a moving target. So I'm not a static mix kind of guy. There are people who mix where they set faders and then they run groups or DCAs or VCAs. And that works for them. It doesn't work for me. So I'm constantly making very minor, 1 dB, 2 dB tweaks to vocals and mid-range instruments because they're fighting for the same space. So sometimes if I'm struggling to keep the vocal on top of the mix, it's not that I need to push the vocal more. I need to pull the electric guitar down, or I need to pull the keys down to get it out of the way of of the vocal. And there's other ways to get it out of the way. The biggest, most beneficial way is to have the musician play in a different space or think about when they're playing. Something that I constantly talk to our team about is play in the whole of the vocal. So open the eyes of my heart, Lord, play something. When he starts singing, open the eyes again, get out of the way. You don't have to fill up all of the space all of the time. And if you do, if everyone does, you got 7 people on stage that are all filling all the space all the time, and then you say, make it sound good. How's that gonna go? Probably not great.